Godzilla, King of the Monsters, is once again another Godzilla movie that thinks we are more interested in a bunch of boring humans than the actual fucking monsters that I paid to see. Well, that's my review. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, donate to my Patreon, so good night, everybody! Alright, fine, I'll get into more specifics. The Godzilla franchise has taken an interesting turn over the decades. What was originally intended as an allegory for nuclear bomb testing turned itself into schlock monster battles that were widely appealing to everyone. I have seen a few films of this giant franchise before, including the predecessor to this one, so I wouldn't call myself an expert in any way, but I feel like I have an understanding of what makes a good Godzilla movie, and all that really amounts to is, have it be made by Japanese people. I've always liked Godzilla himself. Like, who doesn't? He's always cool. I mean, there's a reason why he's an icon of Japan, as well as being registered as an official citizen there. Like, shit, man, there are millions of foreign people trying to get green cards while fictional kaiju is legalized. What a world we live in, huh? Unfortunately, he's been on a rocky road since visiting America, whether it be turning into a dinosaur and being stalked by Matthew Broderick of all people, to having the spotlight stolen from him by Kick-Ass and Scarlet Witch's family drama. I haven't seen this since it was out in theaters, but I remember being really bored by a lot of it. Every human was dull as hell, and it hardly showed any creatures fighting. But at the same time, Bryan Cranston's performance, as well as Godzilla breathing fire into the mouth of that one monster, saved it from being an all-around pointless experience. It's a damn shame his Yankee products have all been varying degrees of disappointment. So for several reasons, I had more of an expectation believing that this would do better justice for the God Incarnate. Maybe not necessarily that it would be good, but it will most definitely be entertaining. There are a couple big reasons as to why I was thinking this. The first being that this was part of a MonsterVerse franchise, and the previous one to come out was Kong Skull Island, which I had a really fun time watching. It was dumber than a bag of bricks and it knew it. The other reason being the director involved, Michael Dougherty. His previous directorial credits were the seasonal horror films Trick or Treat and Krampus, and those were also fun as hell. I actually saw Krampus in theaters twice because I enjoyed it that much. And he has stated in interviews that he's a big fan of the franchise, and seeing how much passion he's put into his other work, this has to have been, you know, fun.
F is for fire that burns down the whole town, used for uranium bombs.
The mixed and negative critical reception this had seemed to indicate that the movie puts more focus into the monsters and less into the humans. And I was thinking, good, I'm gonna enjoy this. It's gonna be better than the first one. Well, I got a newsflash for you. It's the same goddamn film. They put so much emphasis on the drama of this family again. Only this time the father and the mother had a falling out because their son was killed during the Godzilla fight from the last one. The mother and her daughter 11 are looking after Mothra, only for a bunch of eco-terrorists to abduct them. The father and a team of soldiers and scientists go out to rescue the mother, but then the mother reveals that she's been working for the eco-terrorists this whole time, despite being abducted by them. And she has this plan that involves unleashing all the monsters around the world to take care of world population and save the Earth. I don't get the logistics of that plan. So you want to Thanos the Earth, and the only way to do that is to wake up all these ancient monsters? I mean, at least the movie's aware of how insane her ideas are, but it makes this redemption she has throughout the film feel kind of unearned. Everything that happens here is her fault. And the ironic thing is, one of the Godzillas I watched in preparation for this was also environmentally themed. It's the one where he faces off against Hedorah, or the smog monster, who's made entirely out of earth pollution. There's a song that plays throughout the film imploring you to save the Earth.
Save the Earth, save the Earth, save the Earth, save the Earth.
I actually highly recommend watching that film. It's bizarre. It's like a Godzilla movie set in the Hausu universe. Anyway, back to this. The dad in the army subplot is really boring. They have these terrible comic relief characters. Like Bradley Whitford's there just to tell jokes. So is Thomas Middleditch. And the jokes are so stupid too. In a scene where the characters have officially given the three-headed dragon the name King Ghidorah, this one character goes, "Did he just say his name was King Gonorrhea?" Those words don't even sound alike. I have nothing to say about the character of the father, because he has no character. Millie Bobby Brown is just straight up wasted in this. It seems like she's kind of with her mother on a lot of things, including the Thanos spiel, albeit hesitantly. But then she realizes, wait, you're the actual monster, Mom, and leaves. How did she not know her mom was part of that organization? Basically, the point is, she has no role to play, like everyone else in this movie. These are a lot of really good actors, yet they do nothing to elevate their roles. Maybe Ken Watanabe in that one scene, but even then. There was no real performance in this that really stood out. I know it sounds like I'm probably asking a lot, but when I think back to Bryan Cranston in the previous one, even just seeing a 10-second snippet of him gives me literal chills.
My wife died here. Something killed my wife. And I have a right to know. I deserve answers.
The reason why I'm dwelling on these humans so much is because they're in so much of the movie. More so than the monsters. Something like 85 to 90% of the movie was on them. And I was so bored. At least Kong Skull Island had a sense of fun about itself. Like it didn't take itself seriously, unlike this one. I don't get these critical reviews complaining that this movie had too much monsters and not enough humans. Did we see the same movie? This needed more monsters. That'd be like in Detective Pikachu, you only see a few Pokemon every half hour or so, but don't worry, you'll see them in the climatic battle that lasts 5 minutes. And that also had Ken Watanabe in it. That's just kind of a weird coincidence. Anyway, to end my thoughts on kind of a better note, let's talk about the monsters. Cause go figure I'd actually mentioned Godzilla in a Godzilla movie. But yeah, he's cool. He's not in it much due to kind of weird reasons, but he's always welcome in our house anytime. Mothra's also here, so is King Ghidorah, and Ronin, and other creatures such as this giant mammoth. King Kong's also mentioned. He doesn't appear, but he's mentioned. I don't have much to say about them, which is a good sign as I don't have a lot to complain about, except for some of the lighting choices. There's a lot of rain and darkness, which is fine every once in a while, but it's kind of excessive here. I would have preferred more variety in colors, apart from blue, but they're unsurprisingly a highlight here, whenever they show up. Which is barely. Also, it's about damn time one of these movies finally used the Blue Oyster Cult song. Now that is cool to hear.
Oh no! They say he's got to go, Godzilla!
The only genuinely funny part was during the closing credits, where the names of the monsters scroll up. I liked how subtle that was. So other than those things, I didn't walk into this with a negative expectation in mind. I really wanted to like this. I wanted to be the person who would defend this, who would be like, go see Godzilla King the Monsters, it's actually really fun. And like, maybe 10% or less of it is pretty good. Why is the movie this long? You could have told the same story in 90 minutes. I'm gonna sound like a broken record if I complain about the humans again. They're the worst part of any kaiju movie. Is there one that ever features them in an interesting way? Well, actually there is. Enter 2016's Shin Godzilla, a film written and directed by the creator of Evangelion that focuses entirely from the perspective of the Japanese government, military, scientists, defense forces, all having to seriously deal with the threat of Godzilla, what precautions to take, what strategies to pull it off. It's all a bunch of people talking in rooms, but it's way more interesting to watch than this. In fact, Godzilla's kind of the goofiest part about this film. I mean, this is the first form he takes before evolving. Look at him. So at the end of the day, watch that. Watch the Smog Monster one. If you're still interested in this, check it out. You might enjoy it more than I did. If this is the direction that this monster franchise is going, then I'm not sure if I can muster any sort of anticipation for Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, being directed by the same guy who did the Death Note movie was already a red flag. But I guess I'll see it out of pure obligation. 3 out of 10.
History shows again and again how nature points out the folly of man.